Trastuzumab deruxtecan was actually initially approved based on the DESTINY-Breast01 trial in later line patients with metastatic HER2 positive breast cancer. DESTINY-Breast03 was the trial of which trastuzumab deruxtecan was compared directly to T-DM1, which at the time was our current second line option for our patients with HER2 positive disease, and led to the approval or the expanded approval for trastuzumab deruxtecan in May of 2022 for this patient population. Those that had already seen taxane and trastuzumab in the metastatic setting, or relapsed within 6 months of neoadjuvant or adjuvant therapy. And so what this study was a safety update around DESTINY-Breast03. We now have a longer follow-up for our patients that were on trastuzumab deruxtecan, a median treatment duration now of over 16 months for those patients. And what we saw was grade 3 or higher adverse events were very similar between the arms, about 53% for trastuzumab deruxtecan and about 50% for T-DM1. Side effects that led to one of the drugs being stopped was a little bit higher for trastuzumab deruxtecan, 14.8% compared to 7.3% for T-DM1. And largely it was about the 8% of patients that had to discontinue due to ILD pneumonitis that was really driving that 14% discontinuations for trastuzumab deruxtecan. We saw that nausea, vomiting, as well as alopecia or hair loss was more common with trastuzumab deruxtecan, but fatigue was very similar between trastuzumab deruxtecan or T-DM1. And then interestingly, we did a little bit of a different analysis. Since T-DXd really works so much better and allows people to stay on treatment for longer without their cancer growing, we looked at something called exposure adjusted incidence rates, or EAIRs. And this is a standardized measure of risk per patient year. And it's commonly used to describe safety in longer term studies where the follow-up duration may be different between the arms. And across all of the exposure adjusted incidence rates looked at, grade 3, serious, et cetera, all of it was actually lower for trastuzumab deruxtecan compared to T-DM1, except for one parameter, and that was adverse events leading to treatment discontinuation. Again, because of that 8% of patients that had to discontinue due to ILD pneumonitis. If we look at the time to either needing to hold the drug or to dose reduce the drug, these times were actually quite a bit longer with trastuzumab deruxtecan compared to T-DM1. And so when we put all of this together, our take-home message really was that compared to the benefit patients are receiving for trastuzumab deruxtecan, the side effects really are very manageable. Nausea and vomiting tends to be the most prominent side effect, are mainly low grade, and it peaks in initial treatment cycles and then stays about the same throughout the treatment course. So really emphasizing the fact that we can help these patients tolerate better by starting multi-drug antiemetic or nausea medicines up front. And very reassuring that we saw, the time to reductions or dose holds being very favorable with trastuzumab deruxtecan compared to T-DM1. The one other very important parameter we looked at was more details around ILD pneumonitis. There were some fatal cases of ILD pneumonitis back in DESTINY-Breast01, which was our first experience with the drug. But now with DESTINY-Breast03, with more information about when to hold drug, the knowledge that this is a side effect, how to manage it, we saw no grade 4 or grade 5 ILD or pneumonitis cases. And in fact, even grade 3 was less than 1% at 0.8%. So I think this really gave us confidence that trastuzumab deruxtecan is quite safe for our patients and is very appropriate to move up into the earlier line settings like first line or neoadjuvant or adjuvant where there are ongoing trials currently.